All right, order of operations with whole numbers. Here we go. So PEMDAS is what we use to help people remember what order to do things in. Okay, so each one of these letters represents a different thing, and I'm going to go over that in a second. But first of all, what I want to talk to you about is the ranking system. Okay, so the top ranking, next ranking, next ranking, next ranking, etc. So if the number, or if the letter is on the top, it outranks everything below it. Okay, so if this is a low ranking person, either on a job site or the military or whatever it is, you have to get your instructions or whatever from your superior, who gets them from their superior, who gets them from their superior, etc. So you can't do anything until this person tells you to. And they can't tell you what to do until this person gives them their orders. And this one can't give anybody else orders until they find out what the original plan is. So it has to work top down. Okay? Math problems are the same way. They have ranking operations and low ranking operations, and you have to do them in order, just like that. P stands for parentheses, but it also has brackets. I'm not going to put commas, that makes it crazy. So brackets, it has these little guys, which are called braces. You only need those when it gets really complicated, so I'm not going to really put those in. We have absolute values, which you might see in this class. You have a fraction bar, and you have a square root, which you might see. Okay? So all of these are considered grouping symbols, which means they're going to group some other operations and multiple numbers inside in order to tell you to do those first. Okay, and I'll show you what this means with the problem here in a sec. Then E stands for exponents. I'm going to erase this, but it's the little number up top. The 3 is the exponent. Okay, so that one is pretty self-explanatory. There aren't too many extra things that you will ever have to worry about until you get to higher level math. Okay, MD is multiply and divide. Notice they are on the same level. So we have the big guy, the next big guy. Now these two are together. So whatever this person tells them to do, they are on the same level. So whichever one you get to first, you do first. Okay? So they don't outrank each other. They are exactly the same. And I'll explain that when we get to a problem as well. And if you notice down here on the red part, you see two of them on the same line as well. So A and S stand for add and subtract. And that means they are equal ranks. Okay, so again, whichever one you see first. Okay, so normally we do something like this. We say, whoops, left to right on both of these. And I will explain that as well. Okay, so you have to do them in order because the top ranking operations have to go first, or you'll get an answer that is completely backwards from what somebody else does. And every time we do math problems, we have to get the same answers, right? I figured the easiest way to show you how to do it would be to do your actual homework type problems. So I just cut and pasted some of these, and here we go. So I'm going to write PEMDAS over here to the side so I can refer to it as we go. Maybe that looks like a weird D, but that's okay. All right, there we are. So we're looking at the original problem. Let me see it right here. Does it have any parentheses? No, so we'll cancel that one. Does this have any exponents? No, so we cancel it out. Does it have multiply or divide? Yes, right there. Okay, so we're going to do multiply and divide is where we start. Okay, I'm going to write it off to the side so that I can underline things and make it make more sense. And oops, shouldn't be a plus, huh? Should be a multiply. All right, so I'm going to start with the multiply. Like I said, there is no divide, but we do have a multiply, so we have to do it first. So 6 times 3 is 18. Right below it, you don't put it first in the problem. You just replace the 6 times 3 with the 18 by putting it right below. Okay, now the 4 we haven't used, so it's going to come down, and the add we haven't used, so it's going to come down. So your next step looks like this. Okay, so now over on our steps, we have finished multiply and divide. So now we're on to add and subtract, and that's all we have left. So first of all, because it's all we have left, that's what we're going to do. But because it's all we have left, it means that we're down here on the very last step. Okay? All right, let's do the next one. Okay, number 2 is one that I was talking about on the first page. Because if you look at it, you have subtract and add, which are on the same rank. Okay, so we don't have parentheses, we don't have exponents, we don't have multiply and divide, but we have both add and subtract. So this is where you go from left to right. The idea is we read this way, like simplify the expression. We're going starting at the left and we go across to the right. You do your math problems exactly the same way. So we would start at the 15 and you would say 15 add, or 15 subtract 12 add 10. So you do them in the same order that you read when they're on the same rank. Okay, so that means we're going to do 15 minus 12 first because it comes first in our math sentence, if you will. We have to read it before we get to the 10. So 15 minus 12 is 3. So you replace it with the 3. Bring down the stuff we didn't use, so the add comes down and the 10 comes down. Add those up, you get 13. Okay. Now this last one, I'm going to write it off to the side too because there's not much space down at the bottom. If you look at these operations also are on the same line. Same line meaning same rank. Okay, same line right there. We don't have any parentheses. We don't have any exponents. So our next step is multiply and divide. Again, because they're on the same line, we're going to do them in order that we read them when we read the problem. So 18 divided by 6 is going to come first because we say it first. Then you get that answer and you times it by 4. Now remember, that only happens if they're on the same level or the same rank. Okay, so 18 divided by 6 is 3. And then you bring down the times 4 after it, and you get 12. Now you can see we're getting a little bit harder. And I don't know if you can hear in the background, I'm recording this on the 4th of July, and there's a gazillion fireworks going off. So if you can hear them, I apologize. All right, looking at this one. We have an add. There's a multiply right here. We have parentheses, and we have a subtract. So we have all kinds of new things. Well, not all kinds, but there's a couple of things I want to show you. Okay, so one thing I just mentioned that maybe you didn't understand is if you have a number smashed next to a parenthesis and there's nothing in between here, it means multiply. Okay, they just don't write it. They leave that dot out because they assume that parentheses mean multiply, and so people can figure that out. Okay, so the thing that people are going to do wrong on this problem is they're going to want to do this add because it comes first. and the problem. Remember, we talked about reading across the problem, and that comes first. However, that is an add, which is all the way down here on the bottom. Add can't do its thing until it gets instructions from these guys, who get instructions from these guys, who get instructions from these guys on the job site, right? So we have to start with the parentheses all the time because they outrank everybody else. So we have to start over here. It will give you a different answer if you do them in different orders. Okay, so we're going to start with the parentheses by doing 4 minus 1. So 4 minus 1 is 3. Now you've got an option. Okay, I'm going to bring down the 3, I'm going to bring down the add, and I'm going to bring down this 4. Now my option is what to put here. Remember I had the dot up there? I can put a dot right here, and that's usually what I do. But if you know that parentheses mean times, you can bring the parentheses down still. It's just now it's kind of confusing because parentheses here and you have parentheses here, but you can't do 3. 3's done. So that sometimes looks a little confusing. So I'm going to go back and do, whoops, the dot. Okay, so we've done our parentheses. We don't have any exponents. So now we're on multiply and divide. Do we have any? Yes. So we do 4 times 3 before we do 3 add something. Okay? So next step is 4 times 3, which is 12. You bring down the 3, bring down the add. And now see that instead of doing 3 add 4, we're doing 3 add 12, which is way different. So the answer to that one is 15. Okay, question number 5. So we have PEMDAS again. And if you notice this time, we don't have any parentheses, so we can cross that one out immediately. We do have an exponent, though. So this exponent on the 3, we've got to do this part first before I get to the add or subtract. So doing that part first, we get 3 squared turns into 9, because it means 2 3's multiplied together. Bring down everything we haven't done, and cross off exponents. We don't have multiply or divide, so we're done there. Now we're on the same rank with the add and the subtract. So you do the one you see first. When you read across the line and they're both on the same rank, you do the one that comes first. So 9 plus 8 is 17. So 17 minus 4 is 13. Okay, I'm going to squish these down a little bit. Whoops. Maybe. Here we go. This part, because I want to have room to do that bottom one. And last one. So do we have parentheses? Yes. So that's where we're going to start. So right here, now we're doing inside the parentheses. That 2 on the outside, this is an exponent, so that's in the second step. So inside the parentheses, we're going to do 4 minus 2. But I'm going to write everything else down before we get to that, because we haven't used all of these, so you have to bring them down. Okay, so now here, because I have the exponent out here still, you may want to keep your parentheses. Sometimes in higher level math, when you have like a negative or something there, it's almost always necessary to keep the parentheses. So if you want to just get in the habit of it, that's fine. but you can drop them in this class because we're not going to be doing negatives and things that you need to be careful with. So next, we are done with parentheses. So now we're on to exponents. And we have one right there. So the little exponent 2 means I have the base 2 times. So there's a lot of 2's there. So this means 2 times 2, which is 4, right? So this whole thing is going to turn into a 4. Let me make certain it fits right, though. So here we go. 10 divided by 2, add 4. Okay, so exponents are done. Now we have a divide and an add. So which comes first? The divide. So we're going to do 10 divided by 2 next, and it gives us 5, right? So this is equal to 5 add, whoops, let's get my color scheme going here. 5 add 4, which then is 9. Okay, so we had every step in that problem. Okay, one more, I believe. And this one might look a little crazy, but it isn't. It's really easy. The reason I say that is because every single part of this, if you do it one step at a time, is very easy. It's when you combine them together that it gets confusing. So if you think of it as one step at a time, whoops, see if I can write and talk at the same time. If you think of it as one step at a time and each of those steps is simple, then these problems don't seem too hard. And what I mean by each step is simple, I'm going to go back to the other page. Okay, so the one we just did. 4 minus 2 is 2. That's simple. 2 squared means 2 times 2. That's simple. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Again, totally easy. 5 plus 4, totally easy. When you put them all together, it looks like a very complicated problem. But each individual step is easy. Okay? So don't take it as a whole problem. Take it as individual steps, and you'll be fine. All right, what do we have here? Not seeing any parentheses, right? But I do see an exponent right there, 4 squared. So that's where I'm going to start, on the 4 squared. I'm not going to look at the 5 yet because it's times by whatever we get. And times is down here, I'll multiply. Okay, so now rewrite everything you haven't used. This is one thing that people neglect to do. And because they don't do it, a lot of times they get confused. Okay, 4 squared is 16. I was going to write it, but I want to write it in red. Okay, if you do your problems all over the place, doing one step at a time and then bring them back together to do the math problem, that's where mistakes happen. Try to do it exactly like I'm showing you. It may seem like you're writing a lot of extra stuff, but trust me, it's going to be more organized and it's going to work better for you in the long run. Okay, so we've got our exponent done now. So now we're on the multiply and divide step, and we have both, right? We have a divide here, and we have a multiply here. So this is where it comes in left to right. The one that we do first is the one we see first. So right here. Okay. Now when you get to your 920 exams, they're going to tell you to do one step per line. So that's what I'm doing. Sometimes you can do 2 steps at once, but that also starts to get confusing. So one step at a time is really the way to go. Okay, so now we're going to do the multiply part here. And that seems like a big number, but it's still easy. So 16 times 5, you're multiplying. So 6 times 5 is 30, carry the 3. 5 times 1 is 5, add 3 is 8. Okay, so this is equal to 7, add 4, add 80. done with multiply, divide. All we have left now is add and subtract, and we have two adds. So we're going to do the one we see first, going across the page. Okay, going back to red, I guess. So do these two, and we get 11. Bring down the equals 11, add 80. And now 11 add 80, if you need to, off to the side, so you can see how it lines up properly, is going to be 91. Okay, so this process is incredibly important to follow. You have to, or you will miss the problem most times. Okay, show all of your work, one step at a time, stay organized, and seriously, one step at a time, and you're going to be fine because each step is easy when compared to the whole problem, right? Okay, you got this.